thing I hear more about from people out in the public, and I'm sure you do too, than anything else is roads.
Roads.
There are 1,534 miles of county roads and 153 county bridges that have to be maintained, and we know repairing roads is expensive, but not as expensive as having to replace them. Am I correct that it's between 500,000 and 1,000,000 miles to replace 1 mile of road?
Correct.
So how did this happen? How did the road maintenance get so far behind? I know it started with the road commissioners.
Well, that's the reason we have so many roads. I was reading an article on a former supervisor in Anderson County, John Tom Ashley, and he was supervisor for a long, long time. And his claim to fame was the number of miles of road he paved in Anderson County. And he paved a whole lot of roads. We have more roads, and I've said this before, than some small countries do. But, I mean, you cannot keep up with the funding sources we have with the number of roads we have. And so that's why council is looking at alternative ways to fund the road system. There are several ways you can do that. Vehicle tax on cars, council doesn't like that a bit. They are looking at other possibilities on ways to raise money because it's going to require a massive amount of money to fix the roads, and they're looking at ways that they can do that. So instead of us having the road situation we have, that we could have the best roads in the state. And they're going to be discussing that further at the next council meeting.
And part of it, though, is because since home rule kicked in, it's been so expensive, nobody really put the money aside to...
Well, I mean, the state recently undertook some efforts because they were sorely underfunded, okay? They caught all the grief in the world for that. So you've got that. They're beginning to pave some roads. At the council meeting the other night, I think we announced that we were paving 6 roads, and that was 2.5 miles of road, and that was millions of dollars. And so it's just very expensive to do that. People, asphalt equals oil. And so oil prices go up, the cost of asphalt goes up. The other thing that you have...
And when oil prices go down, the price of asphalt never comes back up.
And the other thing that you need to remember, there are very few paving companies left in the upstate right now. All of the smaller ones, Pickens, for example, has just been purchased, and they're an old line family company here in Anderson forever. Well, they are now absorbed into a larger unit, and then there's another one, and they pretty much, the big time pavers, pretty much, there are only 3 or 4 that are active in this area. And what we're expecting is some smaller paving companies are going to get in there. But, you know, when you think, well, a paving company, well, if you have a paving company, it would be real good if you own the asphalt plant. And that keeps a lot of people out of it. But we've also allowed smaller companies to come in by changing some of the rules that council had in place to give them more of an opportunity on smaller jobs, trying to keep the cost down, trying to get a competitive bidding situation. So that's where we are on that.
So even if we had the money, it would take a while to get things up to...
Well, at the next council meeting, we're going to be talking about a road study that we're doing. And what that is we're going to document the condition of every road in Anderson County. We've done parts of the county before, but this will be a comprehensive, this is where they are, this is where they are. Are they in perfect shape? Are they in this shape, this shape, this shape? And then try to put a dollar number on how much it would cost to bring them up. And so we're engaged in that right now. More at the next council meeting from council when we explain that in detail. But that has to be done so you'll have a benchmark of where to go.
That's a massive undertaking.
Well, it is a massive undertaking. When I was here a long, long time ago in a land far away, we did the first road study in Anderson County. We actually put people on every road in Anderson County to determine, A, where they were, and A, so we could do 911 mapping and all of those things. And so it's time for another mega road study to tell us where we are, what we need to do, and have some priority on it. Is this road fixing to lapse into the situation where you might as well just dig it up? This road, can you do just a little tender loving care and it'll last another 20 years? That's what this study will be looking at.
And the growth in industry and manufacturing has brought a lot of big trucks. Is that part of the...
Well, it's big trucks, but it's also more people. More people, more wear and tear on the roads, big trucks on the roads. Yes, all of that contributes to the situation. But you go to cross the line into North Carolina and you instantly see nice roads. Georgia is about the same situation. We, the state, the county, and you know, all the roads in the cities belong to the cities, not the county. So
If it has a little C on the sign,
If it has a C on that, it means the county. If it has a P on it, it's a private road. And so that's how you can distinguish. If it has an S, it's a state road. And so we all of us need to be paying more attention. We already pay attention because we hear about it every day, but find a method to address it that will fix it once and for all.
why are North Carolina roads so much better?
They put more money in it. Georgia does the same thing. They put more money in roads. That's it.
Is that an economic recruitment issue? Do they come in and look at the roads as part of their?
They do, but if you look at where they locate, they usually locate where there's a good road. I mean, there's a reason there are a lot of them clustered on Interstate 85, because all they need to do is jump on 85. But as everybody knows, 85 needs a lot of work too, and it needs lane widening too.
And how much is in the upcoming fiscal year budget for roads? I know you couldn't raise millage enough to take care of them.
If you took half of the money that millage brought in to run the county, you probably still would not put a dent in anything. That's why you have to look at alternative methods on how to fund this with a steady revenue stream that will allow you to program this stuff out way into the future.
And council passed second reading of the budget the other night. What's left to hammer out in that budget?
Just waiting on maybe some final totals from the state on how much money is available there, on some requests that we have in the budget to see if they come to fruition. And again, trying to estimate our income stream. What is it going to be? So all of those things come into play. So there will be some tweaks between the second and the third.
And another thing the county's doing is evaluating all the county-owned buildings, determine which ones are important and which ones can be leased or sold. How long will that process take?
That'll probably take about 2 months. We know two of them. We're looking at several different avenues. Some of the property we own, we will need to keep because we may not need it for you and me, but I can assure you somewhere down the road, like the old shop that we have out near the airport, we've moved all that to 1428. But that property is adjacent to the airport. I can assure you at some point in time, if we sold that, the future councils would come back and they would have to buy that. And then that price would be just absolutely crazy. So some things we don't need, some things we've consolidated, but some things we need to put back on the tax books.
You mentioned a minute ago, Anderson County has the longest stretch of I-85 and the exits along it are growing. Council approved tax incentives for new SPEC Building at exit 32 the other night.
Mm-hmm.
Any details on that project?
Well, I mean, we have some SPEC buildings, but people need to understand, in the case in point this week, okay, we have a SPEC building built by Hunt Midwest, which you really can't see from 81. It's back behind, kind of near Bosch. You can see it from the interstate. So we have a SPEC building over there. This week, we had 2 separate companies looking to go in that building. And why are they looking to go in that building? It's the building's already there. They can begin production almost immediately because there is a building that's already up. And so when they built it, did they know those 2 companies were coming? No, but they were here this week. As a matter of fact, they were here yesterday. And so those SPEC buildings, some people say, well, they're nothing but distribution. True, some of them are, but a lot of them are spec for an industry to go in there and begin operations. SPEC building up on 85, which you see the Ryobi sign when you're going towards Greenville, that was a SPEC building, and then Ryobi needed the space, so they bought it. So SPEC buildings are a good thing, and we need them, and it helps us attract industry.
And the one you mentioned earlier, the infrastructure's already there for it. Water,
it's already
sewer,
there,
roads.
But I mean, as little as 11 years ago, we had no SPEC buildings, so the county took it upon themselves. This council said, well, we're going to build a SPEC building to attract industry. Well, before we could get it, even break ground, somebody came in and said, we'll buy that land from you and we'll put up a building. There's an industry there today.
And that's Arthrex.
Yeah, no,
that's
this is
before
nothing. This is at 81 and 85.
Oh, all right.
Then we bought the property for Arthrex, and we were going to turn it into an industrial park. And the way the negotiations worked out, they said, well, we're kind of concerned about our neighbors. And we said, well, you can buy it all. And they said, okay, we will. So in both cases, we got our money back and a whole lot more. But when you have a building, if you don't have a building, nobody's coming to see you. If you've got a building, you can get them in. They may not like that building, but they're in your county, and they may say, well, I like that location over there. We'll just build a building. But also remember now, because we have 1428, the old Singer plant / Ryobi plant, We have a place for companies to come in, set up operations, begin training, and then while they're building their building, they're getting ready. So when the building's up, they just leave 1428, boom, go into production immediately. Something we didn't have in the past.
And sort of as a sidebar, you mentioned the one on 81, the Hunt is the Kansas City Chief Lamar Hunt family, right?
Yes, and it is a family-owned enterprise.
Council also approved REWA expansion of water and sewer at exit 27. Other than that Ryobi building, what else is planned around that exit?
We have a lot of activity up on that land up there, and a lot of that land is coming up for sale. And so we expect a whole lot of activity in that area, but a lot of people are selling out, and so we expect more buildings up there. That's exactly what we expect.
How about updates on exits 14 and 11? I know that sewer and water and stuff still being constructed, right?
The sewer line's there. We can't get pumps. We've ordered pumps 14 months ago. We can't get pumps. Nobody else in the United States can get pumps. There's just a huge backlog. As soon as those pumps come in, we light it up and it's ready to go, and it will blow up. I promise you that. We already know who's going there and when they want to get there, but we're just still waiting on those pumps.
And that's just a national problem.
It's a national problem.
Speaking of the interstate, any update on the idea of a proposed Bucky's at Liberty Highway exit?
Yes, we found another funding source. I spoke with them this week. Everything seems to be still heading in the right direction.
That's a major project and redo that exit, right?
Well, it needed to be done before Bucky's was there. When Bucky's gets there, it's going to be neat, and it still needs to be done. So Bucky's, by putting the money in they're putting into the project, is helping us move this process along, and it also moves it higher on the state list. Because it was so far down on the state list, you and I and our children, our grandchildren might get to see it. So it's helped in a lot of ways.
Let's talk about parks and events and the growth there, and let's start with the Civic Center. Celebrate Anderson is less than 100 days away. Anything special about the event this year?
Well, what we're working with the Cancer Association of Anderson, which, as you know, any money you give to the Cancer Association of Anderson stays in Anderson County. And as you also know, they're trying to build a building right beside their existing facility. So they're going to bring their balloon event to the Civic Center. So we're going to have activities, instead of just that Sunday, we're going to have activity Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it's going to be a full weekend of activities. So we're really looking forward to that.
And going to announce probably Monday the person, right?
Yeah, and the reason we can't announce before, because it's in the contract for the performer, and so you can announce when she is going to be here after that date.
Any other events scheduled? Amphitheater, I know the fundraiser with
Darren Schroeder concert,
Anything
yes,
else?
and we have other concerts, but again, we're waiting for the contract and the performer's contract to allow us to announce when they're coming. But yes, we have more coming.
And that's all based on having other concerts and driving range. They don't want to step on top of each other.
That is
right?
exactly what it is. They don't want to step on each other.
Okay. Anderson Cricket Club has added another pitch up on Balloon Hill, and they're hosting the Upstate Tournament Saturday. What kind of feedback have you had from the community about the cricket club?
I think a lot of people are enjoying it. A lot of people like to go out there and watch it. I know a lot of members of the Indian community are very passionate about it, and we hope to continue improvements out there to make it even better. And they're bringing in teams from out, that aren't here in Anderson. It's really helping us. I wish we were the cricket capital of the Southeast. I think that would be awesome. You're talking about the second most popular sport in the world. It's cricket. People don't realize that. And they've had some Americans go up there and said, hey, we want to play too. So I think that's pretty good.
And it's kind of a festival-like atmosphere, those things. It's not just a bunch of guys hitting with a...
Yeah, and it's a big family activity, and everybody seems to have a really good time.
And the Greater Anderson Fair just left. Have you had any indication on how well that went? If you talked to them?
Talked to them yesterday. They were pleased with it. They weren't pleased with some activity that took place on Saturday night. They're going to institute some changes for security purposes. Talked with Mr. Drew yesterday, and they're going to restrict the age you can get in. It started at 5 o'clock now, so they're going to probably make it an all-day thing. And some other things that they're looking to do because they want to have a safe, clean family fair. So they're already doing research on how to make it even more friendly.
And this, for the first time, they gave some grants to community agencies and groups, right?
They gave $25,000. They gave a whole lot more than that, but that was the public thing where they gave $10,000 to the community for Celebrate Anderson, $5,000 to the Cancer Association, $5,000 to PAWS, and $5,000 to the Sheriff's Foundation. And we appreciated that.
And we've gone without a fair for a while before they came in. How important is it that we have a fair here in the county?
Well, all you have to do is go out there and just look at the number of people who seem to enjoy it, and people from far away come to enjoy it because where's the other fair? I mean, we own it, and it's clean, and it's in a nice location, and there's plenty of places to park. So we expect to grow and get bigger. It grew this year. It'll grow even more next year.
And speaking of the Civic Center, any update on the Freddie Stowers Veterans Memorial Park?
They have an event coming up. I'm not clear on what the date is, but they're having a big fundraiser, and it's going to actually be on the site of the Freddie Stowers Memorial area. So, but that's coming up, and they're in their fundraising mode right now.
And now the walking track that we've talked about before looks like it's pretty much complete. They finished the bridges between Ann Meadow and 81 to the Civic Center. Is there going to be any kind of opening ceremony or official?
I hope we have a big opening ceremony, and you will walk it from one end to the other and film every step of the way, and I think that would make a great television program.
It's being used like crazy now.
Well, it's being used like crazy. It's not even finished, but I think we need to do what I'd like to see is an annual race from one end to the other. I'd love to see that and activities like that, and I'd love to see that trail system continue to expand, and it will.
The farmers market had spring market this year, and is the biggest craft market. It looked as busy as their regular produce market.
It was huge, and if you were there last Saturday, this coming Saturday, it's going to be even larger. And again, Sharon Nicometto gets all of the credit for that. And, you know, at some point in time, we may outgrow that space. We're not there yet, but it's getting awfully cramped. And like you said, the vegetables aren't even in yet. These are the crafters.
That's another marker of the fact that if people are not really thinking in these terms, our population has really grown.
Yes.
And that's where it starts to show up in places like that.
Places like that where people can gather and they can do things and be around each other, that's where it shows up.
Back to the parks, one of the 3 new positions the county is proposing is a new employee for the parks and the parks department. Why is that so important?
Well, we run Green Pond, we run River Forks, we run Weldon Island, we run the Splash Pad, we run all of these parks.
Dolly Cooper,
and we've been running it with 2 people. Last year we got 3, now we'll have 4. And so the park system is growing. I mean, Rhythm on the River was a smashing success. I mean, people were backed up forever. I mean, we're doing more work at Dolly Cooper right now, putting in a playground and going to put in more stuff up there. But we have to maintain those. We have to look after them. They require maintenance. So this is just a process of growth.
And there's more than 30 parks in the county.
There's more than 30 parks in the county. And I mean, we'll have an event at Sandy Springs. We don't own that park, but we lease that park. People use it. We have Double Springs. We've got parks everywhere, and they require constant attention.
And speaking back to the Dolly Cooper thing, remind people what Dolly Cooper looked like 10 or 12 years ago.
It looked like a dust bowl, a field.
Now, very bumpy, hilly, you couldn't get around it.
No, and now we have paving and river access and all of those things. They had the first race down the Saluda around 2 weeks ago. The young man who has the Saluda River rafting and kayaking group, he had a race down the river, and I thought that was awesome, and that's bringing more people to the Saluda River, and we're excited about that.
And that brings us to Saluda River rallies in about 3 weeks
About 3 weeks.
And it brings people from up and down the East Coast.
Yes, it does.
Are you going to kayak this year?
I'm probably going to kayak this year. I usually do. I even kayaked. They said we couldn't kayak because the water was too high. That was the best one.
Always is.
Because you zip real down.
Let's move back to Green Pond Landing. You mentioned it's booked most weekends with tournaments, and I know the Meals on Wheels charity run's coming up here in June. Or any other entertainment events or other outdoor events?
We're looking at several events using the amphitheater being sponsored by outside sources. We had conversations on that this week, so we're excited about that. But when they had the boat race. Well, it's not really a boat race. Well, it's a poker run with those $80 million boats. That's just for one boat. They're going to have a concert out there that's open to the public, and we have another group that wants to put on a concert out there. So we're trying to market that as it's a fishing area, but also as an entertainment area, because it'd be nice to drive up in your boat or drive over there in your car and have all of this entertainment going on over there. So we're looking to do that.
And is it set up electrically to have food trucks and other things? That's already
It's in the process of being done.
But probably done by summer.
Yes.
Any other projects the county's involved in along Hartwell Lake?
That's the main one. Green Pond's the main one, and we opened Weldon Island this year, but we just opened the ramp and the small picnic area right there.
I think we've covered most of this on updating last time, but any other updates on the EMS service? It's continuing to grow, add vehicles,
Well, we won. Steve Kelly, our director, won EMS Person of the Year. Our system won. And yes, we tweak it every day, and we're constantly working on it and working with locations. And Ryobi TTI provided us a space rent-free to put a unit in an area we needed. We're working with Arthrex on them providing us a space, so we're trying to minimize money, but it's working very, very well.
Is that one of the key factors for economic development? Do they come in and look at the emergency management systems?
Absolutely, they look at that because they want to make sure their employees are safe. All the employees and the people, the managers and plant managers, they want to be safe too. It's very important when you send a paramedic there quickly to provide that service. And I'm proud of all of our paramedics. Those are brave men and women.
What about other economic development announcements? So it's been a while since we've had a big one announced. Anything you can talk about?
Well, there are a lot of chain restaurants and chain stores that are looking to come to Anderson. You also see that some of them are leaving, but that's capitalism. Some people do well, others not. And working on a couple of huge ones that people wouldn't think would come to Anderson. And we were doing that earlier in the day. So a lot of good things on the horizon for Anderson County and really for the region, because our goal is to make sure that Anderson County is the capital of our region.
You think by June we'll be ready to announce some of those big?
I'm hoping. I was on the phone just about 30 minutes ago, and we were hammering out some final details.
How about an update on the Equinox Mill cleanup?
Everything's kind of at a standstill right there. When the state cut off the tax credit supply, that slowed mill redevelopment all across the state, and right now we're just in line, waiting our turn, which I think is a bad decision.
What does our legislative delegation say about that?
They think it needs to be changed.
And are they working towards that? Or?
Yes, Senator Gamble's working towards that. I can tell you that for sure. We discussed that yesterday.
What they did was limit it, right? How many they would
They
do.
limited it, but nobody's going to go clean up an old mill that is highly polluted, that has debris there, unless there's some financial incentive. It doesn't make business sense to do it. And do you want it just to lay there and not be anything? And does it cost anybody anything? No, it doesn't cost anybody anything. It actually adds value to the tax rolls and improves areas. This is a no-brainer, but sometimes we have people who have no brains.
Well, and all over the South, whoever made those decisions when those were torn down were short-sighted to let them come in and just strip out anything valuable without cleaning it up.
They formed an LLC. They took everything good, and then you go sue an LLC, there's nothing there. Right. They've already taken all the good, and you're hung with it. And in those communities, don't even get me started. The biggest one that I was able to tear down was that 27-acre mill in Ware Shells. That was the largest one, but there was a lot of money available at that time to do that, to clean that site up.
But there is some progress moving, or are you just waiting on?
No, there's progress, but it's very, very slow.
The Elephant Pen Park seems to be getting a good bit of use.
Yeah, we're proud of that, and we may have another surprise coming there that might enhance the park, but we're working on that with a local group, so we're hoping that comes to fruition.
Long term, has anybody approached you about that space?
No, not in a while, and I'm getting to where I don't want them to.
You like the green space?
Seems like a lot of people like that green space.
Well, a lot of stuff could be done with that space if it's committed to being green, couldn't it?
Yes.
Are there any more updates on the county's partnership to provide broadband?
Oh, yes,
you mentioned Mike Gambrell. He still doesn't have it at his house.
Yeah, he does now.
He does. Last time I saw him, he didn't. Okay.
Nope, but we received a call from Upcountry Fiber, WCTEL, Blue Ridge Electrics, and they received several grants that are going to expand service in the Honea Path, between Honea Path and Belton area, and he just happens to fall into that. It's not because he was there, but he's going to be able to get broadband and a whole lot of people in that area in between and other areas in Anderson County, and our partnership with them has been wonderful and it's bearing fruit.
So he's about to get it.
He's fixing to get ready to get it.
Fixing to get ready to get it. Is there any other big county news heading into summer?
You never can tell what might pop up. So there are a lot of things that could happen, and there's some, and all of them are good. So we're just tending to them and watching them grow and getting ready to give birth to them.
Well, some people may think this is a bit early, but you and I are of the same tribe, and it's 26 weeks until Anderson County will put up the downtown Christmas tree. Has Santa's request for the taller tree been answered?
Yes.
Is it going to top out
Yes.
this year? 48 feet we're looking?
It's not going to, that doesn't mean we're going to stop, but yes, it's going to grow.
But Santa got his supply chain worked out? And
Yes. I'm so tired of supply chains. We ordered a air conditioning system for the Civic Center a year ago. Supply chain issues. I mean,
will it be here by Christmas?
it better be here by Christmas. And we've got a lot of things like we've got generators ordered for the Civic Center because that is our emergency shelter for the whole upstate region. Just all of this stuff. I mean, just back order this, back order that, back order for sheriff's deputies' cars, back order this, back order that. I mean, there's supply chain issues everywhere we turn around.
And one of these starts tonight, but we'll finish up with all the county councilmen are having public meetings with their people to answer questions and kind of tell them what's going on.
Yep. And also for the people to tell the council people what's going on and what they would like to see and how they would like to see Anderson County develop. It's a plan. It doesn't form zoning districts, but zoning can be based on the comprehensive plan. But it's a very important activity, and there will be meetings held all across the county.
It's been a while since they've had these formal
Yes.
schedules. Is the recreation plan going to be part of those?
Recreation plan's separate, but integral to it. It's just like you just put it in there.
And those are ready to go now, too.
Yes.
Well, we'll catch up in June.
Sounds good.